Aquarius, welcome to your weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for September 12th through the 18th of 2016. I'm Athen, and this is for Sidereal Astrology. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the link down below because the signs are different. All right, so Aquarius, another very powerful week here in September. We've got the lunar eclipse of this whole eclipse cycle this month taking place here on Friday. So this is the lunar eclipse in your second house. This is the house of your sense of self-worth, your self-reliance, your natural gifts, your natural abilities, and all this is the internal environment, which is then the seeds that you plant to cultivate your external values, your outer resources, right? The finances, the assets, the things you enjoy in life on that material level. But of course, we do have to connect to our own inner self-reliance and our own sense of self-worth. So this is what's coming to the forefront, and it's a great time to do the status check this week to see how this area is going. There's likely some things that are working for you here. Maybe it's the inner or outer resources are going well, but also some things are not. Maybe some old perspectives, some old belief systems, some old unhealthy patterns that might need to be let go during this time. So this is the last lunar eclipse we're going to have involving the South Node here for the next 16 years, making this a significant time of now final culmination with this material life or these resources in your life. So seeing what you can do to adapt, to change some old patterns, release, it really comes through being aware of them, right? Being aware of these old patterns and then accepting that we have them. And then it's naturally in that way through the conscious light and through the acceptance, they transform, they go. And that's what these older energies are trying to do. So you can bring more balance, more stability, more health to this sector of your life, to this material security and inner security as well. Now, this lunar eclipse is going to be collectively challenging because it is forming a T-square as the solar eclipse did, which is no surprise because this whole solar eclipse has been that T-square. But yeah, squaring up to Mars, particularly here, is emphasizing that it's important for all of us collectively to sort of take a pause, take a breath here this week. As you can see here in the transit graph, there's a lot of squares up to Mars. The Sun will be squaring up to Mars, Mercury retrograde squaring Mars, of course Mars squaring Chiron, and this whole lunar eclipse squaring Mars. So the key here is that Mars in your 10th house has been perhaps lately giving you a bit of momentum or energy or really wanting to break through or put things forward involving your career or involving your productive life, something like that. Or maybe there's some clashing taking place there. So this week there can be perhaps a bit of tension when it comes to this area of life, maybe even too with your communication. So it's important for all of us to take this sort of step back, this space, and be aware of these energies within ourselves so that it's done healthfully and balanced. And maybe there hasn't been a whole lot of energy. That might be the under extreme for you. If you feel like maybe there's some actions you need to take or some momentum and things that you can build and move forward with your career, then maybe it's the week to muster up that confidence or muster up that energy as best as you can and do it in nice, slow, and steady ways. That's the best way of working with the square up to Mars is typically with the square, Mars tends to be imbalanced. So it can be either too much Mars, too much masculine energy, too much trying to drive, or not enough of that for one reason or another. And so balance is key. If it's on the under extreme, bringing in a dose of it. If it's on the over, maybe toning it down a bit. Now Saturn has been here too, so there's likely a lot of responsibilities you're assuming with the career stuff or maybe having to be patient with that stuff. So keeping that in mind as well. Now the lunar eclipse will be conjoining up to Chiron, I do want to mention. So there is this healing taking place involving your sense of self-worth, your self-reliance. If there's any wounds that come up during this time regarding that, it's very natural. It's very normal, and just know that it's an internal wound. It doesn't necessarily reflect reality or the external environment in that sense. So maybe that helps, but the most important thing is that this lunar eclipse, we're all open to healing. We're all open to seeing these wounds or doubts or insecurities or things we feel wounded about. For you, relating to that second house, those inner and outer resources, and accepting, right? That's, again, the acceptance process helps us do the healing and helps that area transform. Now, Mercury is retrograde, of course, and this lunar eclipse will be opposing up to that Mercury retrograde as he gets closer to that north node. So this is involving your relationships. It's a very important time this week, as you may have noticed towards the end of last week, to be reconsidering the whole relationship side of things, to be learning about it, to be re-editing. It's a modification time. Maybe, seeing how you can try new things, be adaptive, see where things take you in this department, all with a willingness to learn about it. And that's really been the emphasis anyways, because the North Node has been transiting your 7th house, which has been about learning about relationships this year. And so now with Mercury, just being adaptive, being flexible, noticing how things can be changing, but that's okay. Use this time to reconsider those things. Now, that'll probably be emphasized earlier in the week in particular with Mercury over the Sun, helping you learn more about your focus here and how you gain energy perhaps through relationships could be the case. But the Sun is going to be shifting into your 8th house this middle part of the week. So there's certainly this definitive shift of focus. And the shift of focus here is where it has been on relationships, shifting more towards what really matters in life, the 8th house. And maybe if it is involving relationships, openness, intimacy, vulnerability, but most importantly, having that vulnerability and openness with self. And that's the transformational energy of this 8th house. In fact, there should be plenty of opportunities for you for the next year and a half to learn more about yourself psychologically or spiritually, to do this healing, to do this transformation, or whatever it is. For some of you, it's sharing resources, having more interdependency in your life. For some of you, it's releasing yourself from any unhealthy bonds or unhealthy attachments or debts. This is all 8th house, and so essentially, it's about stripping away all the layers, okay? All the layers and even the unhealthy things to get to the core of what matters most in life. So you can have freedom, you can have depth, you can have intimacy with yourself, with relationships, and most fundamentally, with life. So certainly that shift with the Sun, but Jupiter's there, and as the Sun gets closer to Jupiter, more of these opportunities to do that. Venus is here, probably already emphasizing that this has been going on in relationships, but that's good. There's a value here. There's a deeper connection. All right, so that's the earlier part of the week with the Sun shifting into the 8th about midweek. The lunar eclipse, again, will be on Friday. And that's the status check in particular. Then as we go into the weekend, Mars nicely gets a nice trine from Uranus, considering he's been squared up quite a bit this week. So it's nice to have this bit of, in this case, perhaps freedom, maybe something new, exciting, different the second half of the week. Maybe having to do with a sense of self-worth and confidence there with the 2nd house, maybe with values, maybe with finances for some of you. So anyways, that's supportive here. It could be maybe some momentum or energy in the career side of things or with your productive life, and maybe some new ideas about that as well. All right, so one thing I want to say too, over the weekend, Uranus will be opposing up to Venus. And since Uranus is your modern day ruler, I think very important here to have balance. And this is balance with the material life. When it does come to the financial stuff, just kind of keeping nice and balanced here with that. And also too with the deeper things. And seeing that, of course, it's about moderation. Right? It's having a little bit of enjoyment, a little bit of connectivity to Earth and everything she provides, and the sensual life and the good things in life. At the same time, real deep connection, having a real raw, deep connection to life and seeing the truth of life behind the veil. So it's a bit of both. It's moderation of both, and that's the balance. And I think through that, you can see that these values do have a deeper side, and also this deeper side of life does have a tremendous value in them. And since Venus is about relationships, typically maybe some balance about relationships could be important, with Venus opposing up to your ruler Uranus. And though with that, again, maybe some momentum, drive, confidence perhaps for a lot of you over the weekend with that trine up to Mars. All right, so Aquarius, that's the week in a nutshell. Definitely emphasizing the lunar eclipse, the status check of your values, of your inner resources, and your outer resources, and seeing where you can let go of some old patterns, allow to let go of some old patterns to make way for the new here. Do the status check so you can continue to cultivate this healthier balance of this part of your life. All right, so Aquarius, have a fantastic week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.